My name is Bernard Bourne. I am Michael's grandfather. I give consent to any interviews or talks or questions that Michael asks me.
I am Michael reporting for The Circular, and I'm sitting down today to interview my grandfather about life and the liberties in Dublin.
I was born and reared at 61 Thomas Street in the heart of the liberties of Dublin on the 13th of November 1934.
Didn't they get your birthday wrong?
Yes, the 19th. Well, they always reckon that my birth cert.
Yeah.
You see, I was the only one of the family that was born at home.
At home. Above the Vicar Street.
Yeah. 4 stories, 3 stories up. But it appears that maternity nurse, or if there was one even at that time, normally it would be a neighbour.
Yeah.
But anyway, they got mixed up in their jerseys, and the birth cert was made out for the 13th of November, not the 19th.
And when did you figure that out?
6 days older than I think.
Yeah. So that's obviously the liberties that you grew up in.
Pardon?
Was that the liberties that you grew up in?
That was the heart of the liberties,
yeah. And you obviously you go back there every weekend, don't you, still to this day?
I am retired from Guinness Brewery, which is in the heart of the liberties. And I spend a lot of my time. I do a lot of my shopping, and I do a lot of my walking around talking to locals in the liberties each week.
So it had a really great impact on you.
I always call it, that's my fix. I'd hate to lose my identity.
Yeah. And that your identity, you say, is that your identity would be that of like that era, with the 1940s definitely would be a part of it still.
I
know that's your childhood.
From my childhood was it was mixed, because my father was a silk weaver, an Irish poplin silk weaver, which is a craft. But at the start of the war, in 1939, they couldn't. He worked for Atkinson's, who was a well-known weaving shed. That's what weavers' sheds are called. They weren't factories or sheds.
Yeah.
And they couldn't import silk or silk. They had the wool, but Irish poplin is a mixture of silk and wool. So the factories, the sheds closed down, the firms closed down. There were 3 of them in Dublin at the time: Atkinson's, Reed's, and God almighty, let's see the other one. It was over Weaver Square, over in Cork Street. Elliott's. They were the 3 factories. And I've 3 companies, and they all closed down. So my father joined the Irish Army. He was 39 years of age.
At 39?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he needed money to keep. There was 9 of us, 8 of us by that time. I had a younger brother, or an older brother than I, Thomas. He died of whooping cough.
What was that?
In 1933. The year I was,
just
before I was born. He was 3 years of age.
A whooping cough?
Yeah, at that time.
What was that like?
You take a couple of tablets down and fix it. But then it was a very serious complaint for children.
Yeah. And many kids died of it.
It was like measles, and there was a whole chicken pox, a whole load of things that kids could get. And especially during the war years where we couldn't get fruit or anything else. I can smile now, I wasn't so happy then, but we got scabies because we were, well, not only we, the majority of children in the liberties, because there was no fruit, we couldn't get vitamin C.
So you just had like...
We never saw a thing like an orange or a banana after the war ended. We didn't even know what they looked like. But anyway, they brought us all, the Department of Health, I don't know what they called themselves at the time, it wasn't the HSE, and we had to go down to Ivy Bats. That was down not too far from us. And it was owned by the Guinness family. Had them built for their workers. But there was a big Victorian baths there, swimming pool, and on the first floor of it, there were big private baths, and they had this chemical. I don't ask me what it was, but had a big brush, and you stripped down naked, and they painted you with it.
What?
Yeah, that's not joke.
It's
Yeah.
mental.
That was during the war, yeah. But then, like the war ended, around that area, there were characters. We all knew them. Johnny Farty Coates,
Yeah.
Bang Bang.
I know about Bang Bang.
Yeah, you make sure you know. And a few more of them. Jumbo No Toes lived in Golden Lane. If you wanted to chase, because you looked out over a half a door in Golden Lane, and you wrote, "Hey, Jumbo No Toes," and ran and he hobbled after you. He was a victim of the 1480 war. We were cruel kids, you know.
When you say the 1418 war, that's World War One, isn't
World
it?
War
Yeah,
One,
yeah.
yeah.
So like any other stories? Because I know my mum obviously told me a few stories about Bang Bang. He's kind of like an illustrious
Well, Bang
character.
Bang, yeah, Bang Bang, yeah. He was born in the north side of the city. He wasn't from the Liberties, but he spent all his time in the Liberties. Where his father was a chimney sweep, but he was born semi-blind and mentally disabled, plus a few more things. And he was kept in a home up, there was a name on it, up in Glasnevin.
Yeah.
And then, like all, you know, when you think back, when you go to a certain age, they just put you out.
They just kicked you out. And
That's
then
it,
he
onto
was
the
so
street, and onto that was it.
it was
But he was a harmless man, a lovely character. And he went around, when the old buses had a back platform on them, and he'd stand up and he'd be shooting them. He'd come out of the Tivoli on a Saturday. There was always a cowboy. The Tivoli was a cinema in Francis Street. And we all went, it was 4 pence. And you did everything in the world to make sure you had your 4 pence.
yeah.
We used to, my granny was very good to me, and a few more things like that. Because her husband, my grandfather, Connor, that's on my maternal side, he was a cooper in Guinness Brewery, and so was his two brothers, James and Brian. And he had a very good, well, concerned everyone else, he had a very good pension.
Yeah.
And I went to school, at that, as I said, there was 8 left in the family. And when you look at it now, my mother must have been always pregnant. And then she was 4 flights of stairs up where it was a tenement house.
Yeah.
And she had to take the pram up because the next baby had to sleep in the pram.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But the idea of, I smile now when I see all the yummy mummies bringing their kids to school and me 44s. My eldest sister, Maura, brought me to school on my first day.
And how old was your eldest sister, Maura?
She was 2 years older.
2
I was
years.
4 and a half. She was 6 and a half,
Yeah.
or 7.
Yeah.
And all my school days, she brought me to school, my infant school days.
Yeah.
And then that was in Basin Lane Convent. And then when primary school come about, and I was sent to James Street, Christian Brothers. But for some reason at the time, we weren't allowed to stay there because we didn't live in the parish of St. James. But that didn't worry anyone, like, because I was just so good back around to Meath Street School, which was in Meath Street, beside the church. And Mr. Halpin, and he was a lovely, lovely guy. He died of tuberculosis, the same man.
Yeah.
He had a little shop in Cork Street too, beside Morrison's pub. And his wife was a school teacher too. But I learned, eventually, And then in 1946-47, there was a school strike, and Mead Street School was a national school, and they were on strike. But my father wouldn't let me stay out of school, and he heard there was a half day in the Christian Brothers in Francis Street.
Yeah.
So I was first down there. And when I was down there was a brother Heffernan, and he must have, I come up to there at 10 and a half. I was in 6th class, but I was too young for 6th class at the time.
Yeah.
And he said to me, father, because he didn't talk to boys at the time, talk to your parents. All we can do here, he'd be said going for messages for the head brother until he's eligible for the 4th year, or else he'd move to Sing Street, but he'd have to do a corporation exam. So which I did, and I got it, and I got a year's free education in Sing Street.
Wow.
It wasn't a nice time in my life as a young fella.
What was the age of you there now, about 13, 12?
No, I was only 12.
12, yeah.
Uh,
Why was it nice?
There was a whole load of things. First off, the Christian Brothers had very little time for us.
Mm.
There was 2 or 3 of us, scholarship boys as we were called.
Yeah.
All they were interested in at the time in Sing Street was shopkeepers and publican sons.
They weren't interested in ordinary people like
Well,
you.
they didn't, we were more or less ignored.
Mm.
Now, I can honestly say that I learned more in Mead Street School of Mr. Halpin than I learned in the 1.5 years that I spent in Sing Street.
Well, and then
And,
you didn't...
actually, I sat beside Gay Bourne because he was,
Yeah.
where his father was had a big job in Guinness.
Mm.
Well, he went to see a big job. We had a permanent job,
Yeah.
and they could afford the fees, which were £9 a year.
And that was crazy money back then.
Well, it was because my father was in the army, and he had £3.15 shillings a week to keep 8 of us. So like, there was no way. The attitude was, the minute you get to 14, get out and get a job.
Yeah, yeah. So it was
You
just
know.
like, yeah, there was no attitude of getting get your education or anything like
Nothing
that.
the slightest.
Yeah.
And you can understand why, because like that's, well, at the time,
It was tough.
people are say, oh, that was terrible. But I can honestly say too that the brother in Sing Street, on Brahar O'Shea, today he'd be doing time for abuse.
Yeah.
You know, not sexual abuse, physical abuse. He used to froth at the mouth when he'd be hitting you.
Did that affect people like you, like, or like?
Well, no, I didn't know. Myself, Cyril Bourne, and that come up from Francis Street, we were streetwise.
Yeah.
And these toffee nose clowns that we were, we were able to handle it, you know. Now, we would never be, they would never pick us for football or anything else,
Yeah.
you know.
You were kind of not. You were.
Yeah, you know.
You were not
Yeah.
seen really.
Yeah, we couldn't afford it.
Mm.
And as I often told you, Michael, I learned my Latin through Irish.
Incredible.
Bum course in Latin. I learned my maths through Irish. And, you know, it was the biggest, anything else.
So you were talking about the people who went to school with you, so it would have been...
Yeah, well, Gay Bourne sat beside me. And I'll tell you one thing, he was a nice young fella.
Mm.
And he had that accent as a boy.
The
People-
posh, kind of, not posh,
Well,
but
no,
it was kind of
and
like
he
well
came up from
spoken.
Dunner Avenue, the Christian Brothers. They lived in the Tenters at the time.
Mm.
And he palled around with, you heard of Eamon Andrews. Well, he'd a younger brother, Noel Andrews.
Mm.
And he was more or less, he was slightly older than us. But himself and Gay Bourne palled around together. And I saw things happening there. I saw another thing there, which today, his two brothers, Gay's two brothers, did a course on a Wednesday night in Trinity College. And on that day, it was a mortal sin
Boy, was it a mortal sin.
for a Protestant college.
Oh,
And you
of course.
couldn't go into a Protestant church.
Yeah. You were telling me that about the.
And like, that's not an exaggeration, because the Irish government couldn't go to visit what do you call them, the president
Oh,
died.
was it Erskine Childers?
Childers, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so
in
they all were
Patrick's,
outside.
so like these things. But anyway, on a Thursday mornings, there was two of the boys taken out. One was Gable, and he got severely, this was never mentioned over the years. He got severely chastised on account of his two brothers. And the other lad was a lad called, he come into the brewery too, was Jerry Roman. And Jerry was a schoolboy international. And he had a couple of schoolboy caps. He played for a team called Johnville, a soccer team. And he wouldn't go up on a Wednesday. We got our half day on a Wednesday, and Sing Street, we still have it, a football ground on the Crumlin Road. Yeah, just over top of it. That was my treatment in Sing Street. And I always, it was proven years later when Gay Board was asked, that he admitted himself that he hadn't a very good school days. And he never joined the Past Pupils Union
Of Sing Street.
of Sing Street,
Yeah.
which was the end thing at the time.
Yeah.
Because that's where the jobs were being given out, believe it.
So he didn't enjoy that. You thought he
No,
didn't
yeah,
enjoy that.
no, basically he was a nice fella. You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, other than that, next, my father, his brothers, his eldest brother, Nicholas, had two sons in Guinness Brewery. And he said, why not get Bernard, as they call me then,
Yeah.
Barney, to put his name down for the boys' exam in Guinness. And that was quite amusing too, because it was, I forget now, I think it was in, let's see, 1948. It was in either January or February, I'm not too sure, of 1949.
Yeah.
Or 40, whether that or it was December of 48.
Mm.
Anyway, I happened to say there was a couple of us, as I say, we had a kind of a free rein, no one wanted us. Myself, Phil Forlan, John O'Neill, John Joe Gannon. Now, John Joe Gannon was good. He come up from Ring College. His father was a police sergeant, lived in Rialto. When he was transferred to Dublin, lived in New Orleans Road. And he was a fluent Irish speaker. And that they thought that he was a rebel as a young fella.
What do you mean by that? What was he up to?
Well, he just didn't like the rest of it, just to see eye to eye with all this nonsense, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
But I happened to say, oh, I won't be in some more lads. I'm going to put my name down for Guinness's Brewery. And someone said, what's that? It's a boys' exam, you know. My father has two nephews there. Anyway, that was it. So I turned up the next morning to put my name down in the registry department in James Street. And I looked around, and there was Phil Forlan, the Red O'Neill, and John Lord Gannon.
They all did as well.
Okay, so we're going.
Yeah.
So we did the exam, and it was done in the Freemason Hall off Dawson Street. They were trying to think of the name of the street. Anyway, there was 100 kids did it.
Mm.
But anyway, we got, I got forward to 100 out of it. And in a sense, it was quite simple. There was maths, English, and general.
Oh, to get a job in Guinness's.
And general. It was a British fair.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Maths, English, and general knowledge.
Yeah.
And I can still remember the general knowledge questions, which was quite funny at the time. What do you know about the groundnut scheme?
What?
That was a Field Marshal Smuts in South Africa. It was like what would you call it? Board Namona here. It was a free for the people living there to give them work. They grew this groundnuts.
Yeah.
But anyway, it petered out after a few years.
Yeah.
And the other question was, explain the workings of a dynamo.
What?
Yeah, well, like we had them on our bicycles.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know, like that was the only one I knew. It was a bottle, and it was on the front wheel of it, and you clipped it on, and it lit your head. Friction. And it stood to me because I ended up as a foreman in the power station in Guinness,
So,
dealing with dynamos and turbines and boilers.
what age did you start? So you obviously did well in the exam.
I'm sorry. Yeah, well, I went into Guinness in April 1949, and well, there was a couple of us. I made friends with another lad. It was Tom Kelmer. Tom ended up my brother-in-law. He married Eileen. But anyway, we were going to different jobs for a month. I was sent to the post office, and I had to learn how to use a franking machine, automatic stamps, you know. And then I was told one day, tomorrow morning, report. Now, my wages at the time, as a boy messenger, as we were called, was 38 shillings. Now, that was great because messenger boys outside were getting 7 and 6 pence.
Wow.
You know,
So it was good money.
Good.
So you were, yeah.
So there's a story about that too, because I used to give my mother the 30 shillings and keep the 8 shillings for myself, and that was, everyone was happy. And then then he said, report to the chemist lab on tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I went down to chemist lab, and for that I got another 2 shillings extra, so that was £2.
Wow.
I was big time.
Yeah, you were big time.
Yeah.
So,
And I was 7 years in the chemist lab.
so from 13 and up until you were nearly 20, was it?
No, 20 November 20. But you could do the boys' exam in the brewery from 13 and 11 months to 15 years of age.
Wow.
You know, I got mixed. There were personalities. Like the line of progression from there was onto the staff, which was an upgrade again. But I was a bit of a Republican.
Good.
And, it didn't go down too well with the Masons. There were a lot of Freemasons there. And when I got to 21, as I say, I got expelled with honours. And I was transferred to the engineers department. And they looked at me in the engineers department, what can they do with this fella? And they sent me to the electrician's shop. And in the electrician's shop, there was 80 odd people, electricians and their helpers, and there was different, and they said, we have a job for you. You're going to go around the brewery all day long, putting in the bulbs. When the bulbs go out, put a new one in. And I did that for 3 years.
Wow.
Myself
that-
and a pal of mine, another
Yeah.
pal of mine, which is dead, Johnny Pollock.
Yeah.
And it was, we couldn't be stopped. We were everywhere. Because there was a bulb over your head, not aware. In fact, we were caught playing cards in the brew house hut, as they call it, the brew house dressing room. by a shift foreman, the tinker Burton. Another Burton, but no relation.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are you pair doing here? He said. You had to think on your feet. He said, waiting on that boat to go out to replace it. Well, that's all right, son. And he was halfway up the locker room when they hit him. And we went down the back. We were laughing that Johnny was laughing that much. He fell down the stairs and I fell after him. And we went down on the railway and got away. But anyway, these are things that, like as I say, you could write it. But after that, I joined the fire brigade, the auxiliary fire brigade, in 1957. And I was that you did your days of work, and then when you were called, you spent 3 nights sleeping on site. Well, they had a house, 84 Thomas Street, still there. And you stayed there and you were on call. And you were trained as a first aider with the St. John Ambulance Brigade. And you also were a firefighter. And how to drink.
Tell us about the drinking part.
Yeah. And
these were given like drink vouchers every day or something like that.
yeah, we were, but that wasn't the only. Remember, as a fireman, you had keys to everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So you weren't short of food and drink. But anyway, I did that for 10 years till 1967, and then I was in the power station from 1960, and it got to a stage where it conflicted. I was not going home at all. I was kind of mixed.
Yeah.
So I had to give up one or the other.
Yeah.
And I retired from the fire. But I kept in touch with them all, and still, they were all a great bunch of men. Some of the funniest things, you know, we had, I don't know what you're allowed.
Go for it.
No.
You can edit it.
Well, it didn't concern me, but it concerned, I was there. So the lads used to 12 o'clock dinner from the engineers, the back gate, and we used to have our lunch in Bellevue, big dining rooms in Bellevue, and it was called Cobblestone, still is, and you were running up there because when you pushed their lunch and then to be play cards, you know, before they went back. And big Mick Corcoran, he's about 20 stone, he slipped and hurt his ankle. And he was sitting, sprained his ankle, he was sitting on the pad. And a few of his mates around, he thought, geez, you go on, like, you know. And around the corner come a certain fireman, I won't name him, the most intelligent man I ever met. He was a navigator during the war.
Yeah.
Was an alcoholic from the war, you know, the stress.
Of course, yeah.
And he used to say, best drink you ever had. A bottle of Bulmers or a large vodka in it. It doesn't smell your breath. But anyway, this was on a Thursday, which was payday. And he come round the corner after having his couple of vodkas. And he says and gets, get back. And he gets down and he starts saying the act of contrition in your man's ear. And I was like, jeez. I'm not that bad. Oh, I know, he says. But the Doc Lynch is driving the ambulance. He was drunker than he was.
Oh my God. Just was one more question, Papa, right?
Go on.
Because we've got really good stuff here. But just tell me, you told me the story before about in Phoenix Park during the 40s. I think there was a bomb that went off.
There was a bomb. There was 3 bombs went off. There was one in the North Strand.
Yeah.
I think he killed 35. Actually, I knew one that Betty killed.
Yeah.
She was only 5 years of age. She's come to work in her and her brother come to work in the brewery. And her mother was a cleaner. And they got a house up on Ring Street in Inchicore after. Out of it.
Yeah.
But they were all bombed out of it. There was another bomb at the Phoenix Park.
Yeah.
Right? If you know it. where the army grounds are, you know, don't they? And the Phoenix Cricket Club have it.
Yeah.
It's just up from the monument. But anyway, that was just a big pit, you know, hit. The other bomb, the story went out that it was the Germans misplaced Dublin for Belfast. They thought they were bombing Belfast. But they were able to hit the synagogue on the South Circular Road, just down, which coming down from Clogher Road traffic lights towards the stadium on the left-hand side. It's the building is still there, but that was the synagogue.
Oh, was it? Yeah, so they knew where that was.
And they were able to hit it.
Yeah.
So there's different stories about it, you know.
There's another story you told me. I don't know if it was one of your friends, and he found like a bullet or something like that, and he put it around his neck, and it went off. And remember you were telling me that different story? Sorry, it must have been somewhere. It was like he found a.
I know. I tell you, that was John Cripps. That was Cripps. The flood. The
Yes.
shop here. And,
Yeah, tell us that story. Yeah.
But we were all kids up there and going up. At that time, the soldiers were. They did two things. They were stationed. There was a name on it. They were all young fellas. When you were 18, during the conscription, you were just made join the army, and they were piling turf on all up the main Park Road.
Yeah.
And there was two stories about that.
Yeah.
But one was that we used to go up there because if the soldiers were anyway decent or nice to you, they'd give you a big corned beef. Now, it was tinned corned beef. You know,
Yeah.
It wasn't like what you think you'd see now, but the big thick sandwiches. And it was during the war, like, that no one tell you different, and you were hopefully you were hungry, you'd eat it, you'd
Yeah.
eat anything.
Yeah.
And we used to get that often. Cripps, we found this, it would be a 303 bullet now, like this one it was a bullet, that's all we knew.
Yeah.
And he wanted the case off it for the top of his pencil. It was terribly full, no bureaus or anything else at the time. And they had a shop in Augustine Street, just down from John's Lane Church.
Yeah.
Augustine Street, Bridge Street is the next one. And we were all out the backyard of that, and he had a hammer, and he was banging this to get it off. And of course, it blew the top of his finger off, so. Yeah, and he's, like, they're all dead since.
Yeah.
Cripps,
The shopping terrier.
the shop there, but they'd be a great grandson, so you wouldn't know what to be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was one of them, yeah. And the other one about the park was quite funny. But the women used to go up, and everyone had prams. You know, they don't be broke hard, they're prams. And in the prams, there was a false bottom. Yeah.
Right.
Well, what they used to do, they used to take the babies out and put them on the grass, rob the turf, and put them in and put that baby on top of it. And reel it back, you see. Yeah. And you know what they did then? What happened then was to get around that, they made the turf facing the road. They got them to whitewash it all. The socks. So if you were stopped and you had any turf and it was whitewashed, you know, you're after robbing it. You know?
Crazy. I'll probably finish up with the last question, probably just to sum up, like, what do you miss about that time compared to, like, now, like, today's generation? Do you miss anything, or do you not?
No.
You don't?
What do I miss?
Yeah. From that era.
Well, as you can see, Michael, I am 90 this year, so I've seen it all.
Yeah.
And in my mind, there was always a solution to the majority of our problems. And nowadays, there's not. To me, anyway.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know,
What do
there's
you mean?
things happening,
Yeah.
like Israel. Like, we all know about the Russians. I was in the Stalin era, you know, and he was the big baddie then, you know, we
Yeah.
had them all. But, you know, a lot of them, a bullet solves a lot of problems, you know.
Yeah.
But nowadays, and then, like, information can be transferred so fast, good and bad information, you know. So really, no.
Do you think the younger generation have it like a little harder now or easier? Because obviously you've had nothing.
No, I'm asking any old folk, the youth of today, you know. The youth of today have it as tough as we had it.
Yeah.
Only in a different sense, different era. You know? You know, we could get a house. We could get a job. Even though there was no money in this country. You know?
True. And now it's so
the only thing we couldn't get was an education. Unless you had money.
And you can get an education more so.
Yeah, well,
now.
more so. Well, you can channel it, you know. We were just denied, no, look, all you're doing is messing your boy's bike. You know, that's what we were told. You know.
That's perfect.
And that come from...
Yeah, sorry.
That come from the area you lived in, the school you went to.
So it was all
Now,
class.
I'm more proud of being, as you know, come from Mead Street School. Now, there was two of them there. Josie Kelly. Joe Kelly, but Josie Kelly. And Paddy. But both of them, I used to do the homework for them, the record. And they used to, this was during the war, and they used to go out into Mead Street and rub chocolate. Because, well, it wasn't, there was no milk chocolate, it was all black, dark chocolate. But they used to, you know, and that's why I was a receiver. But both of them then ended up in R10 because they robbing gas meters. Like every house had a gas meter, a penny gas meter, you know. And one of them, well, we ended up in Dangan afterwards. He wasn't nice, but Josie was a character. And I meet his grandson, like you now, his grandson just stopped me to tell him stories about his grandfather.
Yeah.
You know? And his grandson was an electric, a good one too.
Yeah.
But these are things. That was my life then. I'm quite contented now. I have you, she, you know, Adam, the whole audience. And it's great.
Yeah. That's brilliant, Papa. That's brilliant. Thanks for doing that for me.
That's in the slide.
That's brilliant.
Thanks for watching. Please like, follow and subscribe for any more information.